Thank you. We have two elected officials joining us a little late, so we're going to have them introduce themselves now.
Way more than stage fright. Use a lot of hot air.
So right now, we're going to have Mr. Thomas, or excuse me, I apologize, Assemblyman Mr. Evans.
That's okay, thank you. It's Tom Abenanti. I am the New York State Assemblyman. I represent this area. Thank you for coming back to Westchester again. You're in the center of my district, so welcome. I appreciate you coming to hear what people have to say. I've appeared here before. My message has always been the same. I have very serious concerns about continuing the operation of the Indian Point nuclear power plants. I've spent 19 years as a Westchester County legislator representing this area. Now I'm in my 5th year as a New York State Assemblyman. And I think most of what needs to be said is being said by the people who live in this area and are very seriously concerned about their safety and the safety of our neighborhoods. You will recall that the Westchester County Legislature repeatedly has expressed concerns which have not been addressed. There were statements that there's no way to evacuate. That's obvious. I mean, if you go outside right now, you can't get out of a parking lot here. You're not going to get people anywhere, so sheltering in place is the only possibility, and that basically is not a real plan. The New York State Assembly has passed a resolution expressing concerns about continuation of the Indian Point power plant. We've had the governor's been stated, the governor's concerned, the DEC is concerned, just about everyone is concerned, everyone who's responsible for ensuring the safety of the people who live in this area. I mean, even as was pointed out, you can't even get the insurance companies to insure the plant. We're talking here about 1.7 million people who, 1.7 million people who live in near proximity to the plant, not to mention the 8 million people who are in New York City downwind. But just in this area, when you look at and it's growing. You never would put this plant here. I can't understand why anybody's seriously considering renewing the license. It's an old car that we've kept going. Somewhere along the way, the car breaks down. And, so somewhere along the way, we have to end this plant. We've been fortunate. There haven't been any really serious incidents, but we're getting more and more incidents. How much longer can we keep this plant going? I'm very concerned about that. Somewhere along the way, you got to say, let's just close it down. And I think we're to that point. We all understand that it was built, 40 years ago, with technology that's probably 60 years old. We're not talking about new technology. We're not talking about a new plant. I come back every year, and every year I come back, there has been another incident. Again, we've been fortunate that none of these incidents have been very serious. But if they were serious, what do? All of these people can't move, they can't go, and you're going to just write off billions and billions of dollars worth of real estate? You're going to write off billions and billions of dollars of everything else that's in those real estate? I mean, we like to think we're in the center of the world. We don't want to see the center of the world just go, just because we decided, well, we're going to try to stretch this place a little bit longer. So I ask you to please see what people have to say. It really is time to say thank you for your service. You've been fortunate, but now let's just move on and do something else with the site. So thank you for listening.
Before I call the next elected official, it was brought to my attention that someone, to be blunt, was making flatulence noises during. I did not know. I heard it. I didn't know if it was part of the song or not. So I apologize. That's going to, if I hear that again, that's one little one. If I hear it again, you're going to. So I would ask you, please refrain from doing that while other people are speaking. I apologize. I didn't catch it. Thank you. And next up will be Miss Teresa Knickerbocker, who is the mayor of the Village of Buchanan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I wasn't going to speak, but after hearing some of the comments, I felt that it was necessary I do speak. First, I'd like to say to everyone, you know, I understand your concerns, okay? We're not like closing our eyes to things. I understand you're scared, I understand, but I live in the Village of Buchanan. I live there. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I grew up in the Village of Buchanan. I was very, very young. It was early 60s when the plant was being built. I know, and I knew most of those people that worked at that plant. Very good, honest, hardworking people. You couldn't ask for better people. They had a lot of pride in what they did. Fast forward all these years, I was fortunate last year to become mayor of the Village of Buchanan. I was very honored to be able to do that. I have my family that lives there. I have many, many friends who live there. We have a small community, we're a very tight-knit community. All of those people are family to me, and I'm very protective of my family. If I felt that that plant was anyway unsafe, I'd be singing with you. I'm not going to sing for you tonight, just so you know. I'd be singing with you, okay? I don't feel that way, nor do the people in the community. I live in, we have a tri-village, Buchanan, Montrose, were planned. When we had that transformer fire last week, I knew very quickly about it. I happened to be standing in my driveway and saw the black smoke. Within minutes, someone had called my phone, alerting me of it, and the most important thing to me was there was no health or safety danger to my residents. That is my ultimate concern. When I found out it was a transformer fire, my police chief, to go back, my police chief had called me, NRC had called me, so I was very well. They have been very transparent. I know that's hard for some people to understand, but since I've been the mayor for the past year, anything I've needed to ask them, any questions, they have been very upfront. And, you know, they've done updates on this, and of course we're not happy with the oil going into the water. We live there. I learned how to swim in the Hudson River. You know, I'm very attached to the community. I decided to stay here instead of move away. And if there's anything that ever happens, of course, you know, we're going to be the ones that are hurt the most. We live right there. But I honestly, you're going to think I'm crazy, probably some of you, but I do not fear living there. A lot of the people who work at that plant also live in the community. They either live in Buchanan or the Tri-Village. They live very close by. I find it very hard to believe that these people who have their families, their friends, their lives there would risk everything for a job. They would not do that. They would leave. They would not be working there. These are all good people. And I owned a deli for many years. I got to know many of these people that work there. So a lot of, just so everyone understands, these people live and work in the community. They are concerned for the safety also. I also know that Entergy has spent over the last 10 years about over $1 billion, I understand, in upgrades. It is an older nuclear facility, but Entergy does put the money into it. We want it to be safe. I've been working with the ladies and gentlemen of the South Algonquin pipeline expansion, which is coming through the Village of Buchanan. Not only is it close to our Indian Point, which is a huge concern for us, a nuclear power plant. We want it to be safe. We don't want any problems. We don't want to lose our homes. We don't want to lose our lives. I mean, we're all in agreement with that. So we want it to be operated safely. In addition, we have 450 feet away from the school. This Algonquin pipeline is proposed to come through. So we're getting a double whammy here. We can go into hours on FERC and what's been happening, but we have been fighting, the Village of Buchanan has been fighting for over a year. The town of Portland, the supervisor Puglisi with this pipeline. So I just want to say I'm very happy that there is NRC staff on site. I understand that you're able to go anywhere, speak to any employee at any time. And, you know, the Village of Buchanan, and I could also tell you with my board, if we felt that it was a safety issue, we would be right with everyone else fighting it. But we don't feel that way. I have toured the plant. They have showed me, you know, we've taken people in, different politicians and things, and they have seen the plant. So I just, you know, I respect everyone's opinion, but I just have to disagree with you. Thank you very much.
Your watches there. For elected officials, I don't keep track of time. I look at them, the tweets on time. Next up will be Mr. Jerry Kramer, followed by Miss Tatiana Kom, and then Mr. Eddie Kantrowitz. So again, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the panel for coming and taking the time and taking the good along with the bad. I'm the chairman of the Affordable Reliable Electricity Alliance, which represents over 200 organizations, including all the chambers in this region, labor unions. I served in the New York State Assembly for 23 years. I chair the Energy Committee, and I helped write the power plant siting law, the first law. Our organization strongly supports the relicensing of Indian Point. It's fascinating that the NRC has devoted over 8,000 hours of inspections at Indian Point, and all those inspections have resulted in a finding that this plant is unequivocally safe. Since Energy took over, and it's been mentioned that they've spent well over $1 billion, that's not an old plant anymore when you spend that kind of money. They've earned the highest safety recommendations from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. What's fascinating about this is that people continue to oppose and oppose and oppose, and now the licensing process has taken 8 years. The way things are going, the plant will obviously at some time finish its useful life while the protests are still going on. Somebody mentioned earlier tonight that Entergy released the idea that as to the amount of power that's generated by Indian Point, the independent system operators, the ISO, the people who supervise the system, have warned numerous times that if Indian Point would close, there would be rolling blackouts, brownouts. Indian Point's 2,000 megawatts have proven to be 25% of the electricity supply in New York City. It's not somebody's hyperbole, it's the fact. I would invite anybody in this room who feels so strongly about the closing of Indian Point to take about a half a day and go out to Shore, Long Island, and talk to the people up there what happened after the plant closed. They devastated the town of Brookhaven, the Shore Public School District, and the county of Suffolk because all of these taxing regions were literally devastated. When I look around this room, I look over here and I see all these people who have signs saying they support Indian Point. They are your neighbors, and not from Utah or Montana. These are people who shop with you, who go to churches and synagogues, and who participate in the community. They wouldn't go to work every day if they thought this plant was unsafe, and I truly believe that. I want to commend you for sending a team to investigate the transformer fire. It's a fact that there have been 21 transformer fires in different plants in New York State. Nobody's ever been shut down. We find the causes and we find a way to cure them. Thank you for your time and support.
So again, we'll have Ms. Kong, followed by Mr. Eddie Kantrowitz, followed then by Mr. Thomas Seth, CZGG. Thank you.
So dear NRC, at the beginning of our meeting, NRC representative stated that AIM projects do not add any threat to our area, which is really against common sense. The AIM project is not needed for us at all. It's not needed for economy of New York, Massachusetts, or Connecticut. It's only needed to corporations. And you know that this gas is not for our consuming, it's for selling to Canada. And which you don't know, I think. The second part, you probably don't know that project, so that old pipelines won't be replaced by new ones. The new pipelines will be added to the old pipelines. So it's actually reality. So our Department of Transportation has many levels of major and minor accidents. And we can hear every week about some accidents of Department of Transportation. So we cannot really trust them. And unfortunately, NRC dropped us, so actually just did not want to deal with really with residents of the area, and we would like to ask NRC to do independent assessment of this project, because we do not want to be hostages to the potential catastrophe. What could happen if pipelines will explode? And please, NRC, please withdraw your approval of the AIM project. We really need it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Edie Campbell.
If I could, before you jump in, I want to address a couple of points on the project that have been raised. NRC's focus with respect to the project name proposal is what would the impact be to Indian Point. Nuclear safety is our jurisdiction. We did not approve the FERC pipeline or the project name pipeline. That's a different federal agency. I think most of you understand that. What we did was we looked at the licensee's evaluation of what would happen if there was an explosion in the gas pipeline, and we did our own analysis of what that would look like. And what we did was we looked at a scenario where the pipeline completely ruptured, a 42-inch pipeline completely ruptured, blew gas for an hour, and then ignited. And then we look at the overpressure at the nuclear power plant, and we look at the heat flux at the nuclear power plant, and we look at what those would do to the structures and systems and components that are necessary to shut down the nuclear power plant. Now, we have done that analysis. We had an inspection report that recorded our analysis, and we did some subsequent analysis in response to some comments that we had, and we have Mr. Blanchard's petition, which is continuing in process. But I just wanted to clarify what we did and what our role is. That there's been a couple of requests that we withdraw our approval of the pipeline. We didn't approve the pipeline, FERC did. So I just wanted to clarify that piece. Thank you.
My name is Edie Campbell.
Chris, am I on? Okay, now we are. Okay. I'm with New York City Friends of Clearwater and United for Action, and listening to everything here tonight, I'm just being overwhelmed by a feeling of tragedy. I see that the people from NRC are working very hard, and I'm sure the folks from Entergy are working very hard also to try to, maintain safety standards, improve safety standards, put Band-Aids on this aging plant, and we're being given reassurances that the plant is operating safely. But the plant is not operating safely even when there is no accidents at all, because even under normal operating conditions, there is radiation spewing into the atmosphere, and people who live near the plant are getting more cancer than people in other areas. So how can we say that we have a safe operating plant? How can we say that we're taking an acceptable risk that there may not be a catastrophic accident, okay? All right, even if there's only a 5% risk, I'm not going to go numbers, but what I'm saying is this would be a tragedy of such magnitude, as other people have already said, okay? This is New York City we're talking about. This is the financial center. This is the cultural center. This is the nurse center. We can't risk this for nuclear power, which is totally unnecessary. We're given a false choice between nuclear power and fossil fuels. We're being told that if we don't have nuclear power, we're going to have asthma. That is totally not true because renewables are here and they're ready. Solar power, wind power, small-scale hydroelectric are ready, and we don't need the nuclear power. Now, I know people are concerned about jobs, and I share that concern about jobs, and I know people, people have said, like, well, the folks who live in Buchanan, they're fine folks, and I'm sure they are. But what is the point of jobs if your children get sick, if your whole town is destroyed by radiation, if our whole way of life is destroyed by the way we're doing things, okay? We have to wake up. We just have to wake up. I know we're all trying to do the best that we can with the technology, but we have to wake up to the consequences. There's no two ways about it. I'm not going to repeat all the things that you've already heard about why this is so dangerous. We just have to wake up and realize that we don't need nuclear power and we should go to renewables. We need to close this plant and we need to do it now.
Okay, next up we have Mr. Seg. Thomas Seg. Blake. Sorry. I thought it was easy. Is he with us? All right, Mr. Clegg will be followed by Mr. Don Cantarelli, and then Miss Amy Rosner.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Clegg, member of the Utility Workers of America, Local 1-2. What I'm going to talk about tonight, I want to thank some people for the advance on it, is the Price-Anderson Act. All right? Imagine that the terrorist attack on 9/11 never took place. Instead, suppose on a busy weekday morning, about 11 a.m., at the starting defect in the floor attached fitting for the World Trade Center building caused a mid-level floor to collapse on the floor below it. That started a chain reaction collapse that brought down the building. The other floors tipped into the other World Trade Center tower, triggering the same defect and bringing it down. There is no evacuation because there was no warning, and 40,000 people died in 30 seconds. A Boeing 747 takes off with a full load of fuel on a long international flight. 1 minute after takeoff, it flies through the wake of another jumbo jet. The turbulence causes an undetected crack in the vertical fin of the prop gate, and the fin snaps off. The 747 yawns sideways, rolls onto its back, and dives down to the roof of a large sports arena holding a national championship basketball game. 200,000 pounds of fuel atomized on impact, with the floor and erupt in an enormous fireball inside the building, consuming all oxygen and incinerating 40,000 people on live HD worldwide television. In 1997, the EPA determined that human life was worth $5.8 million. Correct for inflation, that is $7.6 million now. The loss in each case would be $304 billion for human life plus property loss. The World Trade Center did not carry this level of insurance. Should they have been prevented from constructing those buildings without the adequate insurance? The airlines do not carry this level of insurance. Should the airlines be grounded for lack of adequate insurance coverage? Suppose a biogenesis scientist in a major pharmaceutical industry accidentally develops a virus that is more contagious than the common cold and more deadly than HIV virus. He contaminates himself and his family, the virus spreads around the world and kills half the population. That would be a $25,000 trillion loss. All the money in the world will not cover that loss. Should we shut down the entire drug industry and go back to life without medicine because it's not insured? Dam fails have killed 8,000 people in the United States. In 1975, a single dam failure in China killed 30,000 people. Dams in the U.S. are not insured for the maximum imaginable loss. Should we tear down all dams and give up on our hydro plants and charge more per kilowatt to pay insurance? Coal plants are killing over 20,000 people each year. That is 175 billion loss each year that the coal plants are not paying for a virtual subsidy. You are holding
Mr. Clay, your 3 minutes is up, I apologize. Again, let me take this reminder. Okay, I'm going to take this time, I'm going to apologize. We are, because we do have many people who still want to speak, you can imagine, we're going to go till 9:40. So, and I also ask you to be indulgent if I could take off my jacket, granted it's not being video. All right, okay. So, if that's it.
Just a quick update. Rangers are leading on nothing. My name is Don Paccarelli. I work at Indian Point. I've been working at Indian Point for over 2 decades. I sat with a group of anti-nukes, not to deceive them, but just to ask questions independently. This is my first rodeo. I've been to these before. I can see how you get when you start arguing your points. And I spoke to some very nice people. They're very glad to see this facility on both parts, and I hope it continues in the future. Okay, point number 1. How many electricians does it take to change a light bulb? Well, that depends where you're talking. If you're at home, you can get up there, jump on a stool, take it out, put it back in. In the morning, you have 2 qualified electricians. Then you have engineered electrical schematics telling you what wattage and how they are placed. You also have to have, if it is a protected area, a first-line supervisor with you. You also have to have the approval of the shift manager. I wish I had a glasses at my heavy shift. It's horrible. So, okay, so we have that. We had to walk down, supervisor group. You also have seismic controls in some of the areas. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Much better. Thank you. It was talk of spent fuel. What were we doing with spent fuel at any point? Well, I would suggest all the politicians here, all the citizens, they contact Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid and ask him why he was so willing to accept the millions and millions of dollars that it took to build the site that was supposed to be used for storage, and then once it came crunch time, he refused to have the storage facility put to use. As far as the women thing, if you ask me, if you all want to live in a yellow submarine, it has to be nuclear power. Last but not least, as far as the gentleman from Greenberg, I know we're not supposed to give it, but personally I think for him to compare nuclear power plants with the Holocaust is despicable.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Rosemary. I'm a councilwoman in the town of North Salem, and I'm continuing Paul Blanch's talk. So as Paul mentioned, he's tried to have a follow-up meeting locally, and the NRC has refused. From its website, the NRC's principle of good regulation states, all parties will benefit from a local meeting, as this will assist in the establishment of public confidence in the NRC process, demonstrate that the NRC is consistently supporting its primary mission of protecting people and the environment. This way, the public will be reassured about the safe operations of Indian Point. To me, and that would be Paul, a meeting is a dialogue between parties and openly exchanging information and not just a one-way conversation as it's been in the past. All right, next we want to speak about transformers. Paul's second comment relates to the recent failure of the main transformer and the discharge of significant oil to the Hudson River and nearly flooding safety-related electrical systems. During the relicensing hearings for Indian Point, he was an expert witness for the Attorney General of New York, identifying the fact that Indian Point's transformers failed to meet the NRC requirements, 10 CFR 54, for an aging management program, AMR. This formal contention for the need of better maintenance was opposed by both Energy and the NRC. A formal court hearing on this topic was conducted in December 2012 in Tarrytown, New York. The court, the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board, ASLB, ruled that Indian Point must implement a more robust AMR. However, both the NRC staff and Energy opposes ASLB ruling and appealed to the full commission to overturn the court's decision. Recently, the full commission overruled the ASLB decision, thereby negating the requirement for any transformer aging management program. This is the very first time that the commission has overturned an ASLB decision in the NRC license renewal process. I, meaning Paul, am not claiming that this political decision was the cause of the recent transformer explosion. However, it may have been a significant contributing factor. Had Energy implemented an AMR for the transformers, this catastrophe may have been avoided. The lack of an AMR leads to potential transformer failures. I have no doubt that both the NRC and Energy will conduct some type of root cause investigation. Again, I question the motivation and independence of both of these organizations to identify themselves as a contributor to the transformer explosion and the release of oil to the Hudson River. Again, I plead that concerned citizens hold the congressional representatives in the NRC chairman's office and demand a public meeting to be conducted locally.
Thank you. If you're speaking on behalf of yourself and your position as councilwoman, then I mean, it's only fair that I allow you to continue within a reasonable time. I know that Mr. Blanch's speech was on for, as he himself indicated, me for quite a while. So I'm asking you to make that decision as an elected official, how you want to use your time, in fairness to everyone else in the room.
I'll go one more minute.
All right.
So, a list of these untrue, unsupported, and inaccurate statements by the NRC and Energy is provided here. All right, and we demand a timely and written answer to the following questions. I have reliable information that the million-gallon fuel oil tanks located within the blast radius of the gas lines may contain flammable materials, liquids, and/or gases. Energy NRC have ignored these tanks in its analysis. The NRC Senior Resident Inspector, Mr. Scott Stewart, was directed by his management not to confirm these tanks were empty. Doug Pickett refused to confirm these tanks did not contain flammable materials and directed me to contact the NRC's Office of Public Affairs. Neil Sheehan from the Office of Public Affairs stated to me that it was his understanding that these tanks are empty. All NRC contacts absolutely refused any definitive statement as to the actual content of these tanks, as this would negate the entire NRC Energy analysis. Hey, oh, and actually, there's just one more paragraph to this point. On May 18, 2015, Mr. Pickett stated to me it would be very difficult to perform a verification of the content of these tanks. Therefore, the NRC ignored this potential of an additional flammable source that could contribute to the severity of any incident. Apparently, risking 20 million residents is not worth inspecting the content of the tank. The NRC analysis does not account for the potential for flammable contents contained within these tanks. Why?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to note, I've been focused on the speakers as we go along, and for this last speaker, you may have noticed I was focused on papers in front of me because I'm following along in the copy of this statement that Mr. Blanche provided me before the meeting. And I don't know if he's got other folks lined up that we're going to get to before 9:40, but if he doesn't, there are 11 more points that he has on here, and we will include that in with the recording and transcript of this meeting. So if we don't get to that, these will be available for you to see. At this point, off the top of my head, I'm not in a position to respond to that, but we will work to respond to these as well as the further interactions we'll have with Mr. Blanche on the position.
I can just add one point to that. Mr. Dorman had mentioned earlier that some of the assertions that were provided in Mr. Blanche's letter contained assertions about impropriety on the NRC staff. So that's something that we would intend to provide to our Office of Inspector General so that they can be made aware of that and look into some of the issues that were provided in the letter. So thank you for informing us of that.
Just to echo that point again, my main favorite job is regional counsel. I'm in charge of interfacing with the Office of Inspector General. I will make sure to relay this when I get back to the office, Mr. Blanche's concerns regarding NRC staff impropriety. So that's my personal responsibility, and I'm vouching for that will happen. Okay, next up is Mr. Howard.
My name was called previously, Matthew Brennan. Should I wait to the end, or?
Did I?
Call?
I'm sorry, sir. I don't think I called him Matthew Brennan.
Yeah, it was. I had to take care of some personal business.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't think you were called. Because I'm looking at the list, and I don't. Sorry for doing that with the microphone. I don't see your name. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't see your name on here. I apologize. But next up is Mr. Howard, followed by Miss, I think Susan Hayter, and then Miss Ellen Weininger.
My letter has already gone to the Inspector General identifying specific points.
Thank you. I'll still follow up with contact there just to see if they have any questions. All right, again, next up is Mr. Howard.
Yes, my name is Kevin Howard. I work at Indian Point. I've been working there since '79. The Fukushima earthquake, Japan's earthquake, hits me very personal. My daughter-in-law and my 3 grandchildren were in Miyako at that time. I found out about the tsunami on the web when I was working at the plant. And everybody saw the Miyako where the water came up and over. I was very lucky that day. It took us 48 hours to contact my daughter-in-law by via her cousin that was in Tokyo. So forgive me because you guys jerked my heart a little bit. But talking about the emergency plan that Indian Point has instituted on all these counties. I look at it as the Rockland County. They have a box fire plant caught on fire about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I was working at the point. It blocked out the sun with all the smoke, and everybody that's here knows that. What do they use for the emergency? How do they contact their people? They use the emergency control that Indian Point supplied them. As in Westchester, there's only one emergency control center in Westchester, and Indian Point has supplied it Your government uses that for your emergencies. And as in all the other counties. So if you take away Indian Point, you take away your emergency control centers. Because yes, it is correct. You check it out. And as for the politicians in Westchester, they talk about Indian Point melting down, many, many deaths. I open up the newspapers and I see airplanes flying out of the sky. I don't hear them talking about closing down Westchester County Airport. That could fall on a house, that could fall on a school. More likely than something happening at Indian Point. So, as I said, I work at Indian Point. I know the safety of Indian Point pretty much. I'll just give you one more. Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.